It's a twofold question, if I could. Eddie Royal is likely to come back this week. How much of a boost do you think that will be for the Bears? And with a guy like Jay that's been in the league for so long, he's been improving as the season goes on. Is that tough to coach for a guy like that with your youngsters?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just par for the course with us with, the quarterbacks that we've been facing. It's the National Football League. You face good quarterbacks every week. But, we've had a string of, 5-6 guys in a row that but that's part of the deal, As far as the Eddie Royal question, phenomenal player. I was with him in San Diego for 2 or 3 years. And unbelievable player, big play capability all the time in the slot. So, he's don't know. Did he practice today? Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen the report yet. So, but yeah, any time that you interject, a player into a system that has big playability, it's obviously a concern, and number 19 is that for them, no doubt.
When teams do the max protection like the Cowboys kind of did consistently on Monday, how do you counter that to try and bring pressure with your four-man front in certain situations?
Well, I think you gotta be calculated with it. You got to do 4-man, 5-man, 6-man. I thought, for the most part, we were, again, like I tell you guys, we didn't have sacks, but, I thought we did a fairly decent job. They were 11% on third down. We were getting off the field on third down. We had 3 takeaways. Now we did only have 1 sack, and that's our objective every week. First down, second down, third down, it doesn't matter to harass and get after the quarterback. With the offensive line they have, with some of the protections that they did with keeping people in, it limits you. But I still think at the end of the day we did a pretty good job.
Some of those third downs, I guess you guys are sending a little bit more pressure. Seemed like more in the second half. Some of those cover zero looks that you guys gave. Was did you feel like?
I thought we mixed it pretty good. And I think that's the biggest thing. Whether you rush 3, whether you rush 4, whether you come all out and rush 7. I think the biggest thing is just to get a quarterback off balance a little bit. And I thought we did a fairly decent job of that, especially on third down.
You've been in the league a while, obviously, but when you're with a new team and this is your first year with these guys, do you grow in your confidence as the season goes on and maybe have a better feel for the types of game plans and calls you want to do at this stage of the season?
Yeah, but, I think that's yes, I definitely think that. But that's the nice thing. That's what you have an off season for. That's what you have training camp for. That you kind of go through the growing pains of getting to know guys then. And then be able to go through a season with them, with us, with the injuries that we've had. We've had, a number of guys, weren't even here in training camp, let alone OTAs, the off season. So yes, obviously just anybody, relationships are built by being around people and getting to know them on a personal level, but then on an athletic level, knowing what they're good at, knowing what they're not good at. And yes, of course, the only way to do that is through time. So yes.
You mentioned the guys who weren't here, and Mason Foster had the fumble and the fumble recovery. Will Blackman's had interceptions, and just how have you made sure those guys have kind of been able to seamlessly integrate into what you're doing, even though they weren't around for all that?
Well, I've it seems like it's been a common theme up here with you guys, and it's we believe it, we preach it. We from the day a guy gets here, whether he was here in phase 1 with us of the off season. Or we signed him, week 4 like we did Will, or week 6 like we did Mason. We coach guys not as starters and backups. We coach them all the same. We prepare them all the same. Because like I tell you guys all the time, if you're not starting, you're 1 play away from being a starter. And that's the approach we take. We're starters in waiting if you're not currently starting. So when your chance comes, next man up, you're ready to go. And very, very proud of those guys, the way they've played and continue to play.
Joe, do the Bears use screens as a weapon more than most teams?
Yeah.
And if so, with running backs and receivers, and if so, how does that change what you guys do, how you approach?
Yeah, it's I don't think it necessarily changes anything you do. You just got to be obviously conscious of it. And they do a number of, number 22's been not only a phenomenal back carrying the ball, but he's very good out of the backfield in the screen game. Always has been his whole career. But then also with all the different screens that they do, whether they're bubble screens, when I say bubble going towards the sideline, or tunnel screens coming back inside and going up the middle of the field. They do a wonderful job with it, and it's something that we've practiced, we've talked about, and it's a big part of their offense.
Have you faced a team this year that's used it as much as them or close
Well,
in the same way?
It's bubble screens and what we refer to as tunnel screens are pretty much every team in the league uses them, but no, I wouldn't say we've faced a team that uses them to the extent that these guys do. They're very good at it. They do it with everybody. They do it with tight ends. They do it with wideouts. I know 83 went on IR, but he would be at number 3 and run a bubble screen. He'd be at number 1 and come in and run a tunnel screen. So they don't discriminate with who they throw them to, and they do a good job of them. Linemen do a great job of getting out blocking. So it's a big part of what they do, and we're going to have to stop it.
Could you speak a little bit about Carlos Fields and how you think he's come along since he got here?
Yeah, I think he's a young kid that in a perfect world is a practice squad guy that you love to be around and you love to have to work with. Had an opportunity to get brought up to the 53-man roster, and he's in a backup role for us, but he's playing. I think he played 10 or 12 snaps on special teams. So another guy that's just we're getting to know. He's learning the system. And we really are going to obviously heavily rely on him, covering kicks and playing on special teams. But young kid that's got some ability, no question.
Do you stick with Compton and Foster there inside, and what did you like from them on Monday?
I'm sorry?
Do you stick with Compton and Mason Foster there at the inside linebacker?
Yeah.
And what did you like from them on Monday?
Well, I think Will and Mason work really well together. Mason's, that's the thing with Mason Foster. Obviously, he's a guy that was on the street that we brought in, but Mason Foster's played a lot of football in this league. He was a 3-year starter down in Tampa. Played a lot of ball. I don't know what his career starts are, but it wasn't like this was a guy that we signed off the street that made his first start on Monday night. I'd say he's probably started 30, 35 games in his career. So, but no, I thought Will stepped up to the challenge when he became the full-time starter, and Mason, followed his lead and was no different. So, they not only are going in there and playing, they're making plays, they're contributing, and that's what you want. You just don't want a guy to round out the 11. You want a guy to go in. You want all 11 players to make plays, and they're both doing that.
It seems like there's been so much turnover, I guess, shuffling at that position. What does it feel like now to finally have some sort of stability there, and two guys who can make plays?
No, I mean that's good. To have two inside linebackers, the same two, start 2 games in a row. That's good, and obviously, it'd be great to get Keenan back. It will be great to get 56 back. It will be those will be great things when they happen. But like we said, we don't sit and dwell and wait. Mason and Comp are playing good football for us, and they're going to continue to.
A couple more guys to ask about. D'Angelo Hall, how do you view his role right now?
Well, I think that's the great thing, again, kind of talking about Mason as a veteran. The great thing when you have veteran players, when you have guys that have been around, until a month ago, D'Angelo had never played a snap of safety in his life, but there ain't much that he hasn't seen in 12 years, So I think to classify his role as it's multiple. We're able to do a lot of things with him. He can play corner, he can play nickel, he can play dime, he can play strong, he can play free. He can do a bunch of different things. He can go and match up late in the game on Jason Witten if we need him to, like he did the other night. So it's just great when you have not only a very good football player, but when you have a smart, heady player that understands football, understands coverage. You can do different things with him. So I thank God that we have him.
The other guy's Terrence Knighton, and I'm sure he wishes he was out there playing more snaps, as all the guys do. But where does he fit in the rotation, and how is he best used? Well,
I think Terrence is another guy that Terrence is our starting nose guard. But, Terrence is not just regulated to playing on 1st and 10 in base, He can play a 3 technique and play 1 technique. He can do multiple different things, especially with some guys. We have a couple guys banged up right now. So, his role is going to expand as some other guys. So, but Terrence is a veteran that, we expect when he's out there to make plays wherever he lines up.